Hello everyone. Today we're going to do LeetCode number 14, which is the longest common prefix. So if we look at the problem, it wants us to write a function to find the longest common prefix among an array of strings. And if there's no common prefix, we're going to return the empty string. So if you look at example 1 here, it has an array of strings, flower, flow, and flight. Now FL is in all three of those. So the output would be FL. In the second example, there is no common prefix, so it's just going to input the empty string. Or, I'm sorry, output the empty string. Okay. So let's pseudocode this. The first thing we're going to do is return blank if the input length is 0. Then we're going to define a string variable, which I'm going to call prefix, and assign it to the first string element. Now we're going to loop through each other string value in the array and determine if all the characters in prefix are in value. So using the example that LeetCode gave us, if the prefix is flower, the first string value is going to be flow, and not all of the letters in flower can fit in flow. So if not, we're going to remove the last character from prefix one at a time and try again. So next time through it would be FLOWE, and then it would do it again to get FLOW. The prefix would be FLOW, and then those would match. So if so, we're going to exit the loop and we'll grab the next string value. And that is pretty much the program. And we're going to return the prefix and end the method. Okay, some questions you might have is, how do I detect if the string value is in the prefix? So we're going to use what's called the index of method. This will find the position of the string inside another string if it exists. So if you have my string equals hello world, and then you do index of world, it will return 6. So if we look at this, we start at 0, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the space is 6, so world starts at position 6. If it doesn't find the world, it will return -1. So if this was worldwide, though that worldwide does not exist in hello world, so it would return -1. Because we're looking for a prefix, we're going to want index of method to return a 0. So my string flower pot, and then the index of flower, that would give us an output of 0. All right, how do I remove the last character in a string? Well, we're going to use what's called the substring method. This will truncate the string based on the inputs that you give the substring. So if we have a string prefix flower, we want the substring 0, 4, so it's going to start at position 0 and go 4 characters over, so that will give us flow. And here's the code we're actually going to put in there. So we're going to do substring, and then we're going to do prefix length -1. So we're going to remove 1 character at a time. All right, so let's code this. First thing we do, if input length equals 0 or input is equal to null, we're just going to return an empty string. We'll assign the prefix equal to the first value in the string array. Now this is interesting. We're going to start I at 1 and not the traditional 0, because if we did 0, we would just be comparing input 0 to input 0, which, well, there's no need to do that. We don't need to compare the prefix to itself. So while input, in this case 1, index of prefix is not equal to 0, we're going to substring it. So we're going to take the prefix and subtract the last letter. And that's pretty much the method. So this will just keep going until the prefix equals whatever the input is. And then we're going to return that prefix and end the method. So let's debug this in IntelliJ. And I use the example flower, flow, and flight. So the first thing it's going to do is assign the prefix to the word flower. Now we're going to go through the next string value. And as we can see, it went into this loop, so flower is not in flow. And see, now down here, we've taken off the last letter, so it's FLOWE. And we'll go through it one more time, and flow is in flow, so now we're going to go and grab flight. We'll go into here, flow is not You cannot put flow in flight. And so it takes off the last letter, and this time it should find that FL fits into flight. And then we return the prefix, which, as you can see here, is FL. Result FL. All right, now let's run this in LeetCode. Run the code. Perfect. Now submit it. Look at that. Faster than 100%. We are the fastest submission out there. So the last thing I want to do is go through the time and space complexity. The time complexity is how long it takes to run. So this is actually O of n. We traverse the list containing n elements only once, but as the list of elements grows, the time to execute it will take longer, and it is a linear fraction, so that's what's called linear complexity. Now, the space complexity is another issue. The total amount of memory used. I say it's O of n because the input parameter, as you add more elements to the string array, you're going to take up more space. But it also could be, depending on how you look at it, it could be O of 1 because technically you want to see what the code does and not, you don't really want to factor in the input parameter. So like, hey, how much space is the logic in the program going to take, and not, the input parameters kind of cloud the results. But so it could be O of 1. I like to use O of n, and if maybe you're asked in an interview, maybe explain why it's one and not the other. All right, that is the end of this video, and again, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.